And so then that's when I started to kind of see like, okay, why am I here? Where, and that's when I started to look at my childhood. That's when I started to look at my family dynamics. And I started to look at my parents' interaction with, within their own marriage, and just seeing like putting all these factors in play. And I'm just like, wow. Like, and it was overwhelming at first because I wasn't even aware
Mhm.
how my environment was really, really impacting me. And it was impacting me a lot. A lot of the women in my family, they were playing both mom and dad. And so I kind of learned that,
Mhm.
you're not supposed to show your emotions, that makes you weak. So there was all these different things that were kind of coming into play. And I'm like, and then I started to realize that this is not part of me. This is, this was a result of my environment. And it was, kind of a process, I think, for my mom and I, because my mom and I, we went through a lot together throughout my, my adolescent years. And, it had to start with me. I had to start talking about things. I had to bring things up that I never talked about because, for the majority of my childhood, I was suffering in silence.
Right.
I speaking up. I wasn't saying like, I have all this trauma. And I really feel that, I grew up with a father that was not there. He was, out of town. He was working all the time. And unfortunately, this does affect the children in the family.
Mhm.
And I wasn't the only one affected, but it created this very deep abandonment wound inside of me.
Mhm.
And so, and I remember there's a distinct memory I have. I was like 3 years old. And normally I don't remember stuff that young, but this was just ingrained. And I remember my dad coming home from work one day, and having my little kid like microphone in my hand, and I was following him around, and he was not there. His head was somewhere else, and I remember like trying to get his attention, and I just felt his back completely turned. And I think in that moment, there was something inside of me that happened. And
Mhm.
that's when that wound started to kind of, be created basically after.
And it's funny. I can remember we growing up, we had this bulletin board in the hallway, and it was just a freaking mess. And I was maybe, I don't know, 11 or 12.
Yeah.
And, I was just like, I'm going to make this better. And so I like sorted things, and I had, like appointments in one quadrant, and, I sorted it all out. And then my mother walks by and she goes, who did this? And that stressed her out because she liked it all spread around and not so organized. And so I think that we have to also be aware of who we are and how we respond to environment. Like some people are going to like that sort of bohemian jumble of stuff. Other people are prefer the more minimal, like for me, if I'm looking around my office right now, if I can't see it, it does not exist. And that is just a fact. It will never be used. So I probably have more out. And I mean, it's tidy, but not everyone needs to see all of their, tripods or all of that kind of thing. But honestly, I forgot I had them. I went to a conference last week and I was just like, oh, I wish I had those tripods I used to have. And then I'm like, well, I would never have gotten rid of them. And they were just very tidily leaning against the inside wall inside the closet. And I'm just like, things don't evaporate because you don't use them. Go, come on, Mel.
Yeah. That is so funny. Oh my God.
Yeah, but we have to be aware of how we enjoy our environment and what helps us stay
Yeah.
centered and calm and aware of what we would like to do.